delete them pictures off of Facebook, take my kids off of Facebook. We don't want nothing to do with you because when I found out about my brothers and you denied my brothers to me, I don't have the money right now. Can you just wait? I could have waited. I already waited a year before my van got fixed and it's broke down again. Can you help me now?
He got a phone call from a girl that I had went to school with, and she called and decided to tell him that I was sleeping with multiple men, and from that point on he had doubted it, which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
As roller coasters go on paternity court, this case right here will leave you speechless. Ms. Kelso was in court to prove that the defendant, Mr. Davis, is the father of her child, even though he claims that she was in a relationship with another man while they were intimate. Well, here's how it all started.
Ms. Kelso, you are in court today to prove that Mr. Davis is the father of your 9-month-old baby, Connor Kelso.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim Mr. Davis has done nothing for your son, so you're suing for half the child-rearing expenses in the sum of $2,561. Is that correct?
Oh, wow. She was dating someone else while kicking in bed with Mr. Davis? I mean, who do we even blame in this type of situation? Oh, well, Judge Lauren is about to get to the bottom of it all. Let's see what Ms. Kelso and Mr. Davis have really been up to in the shadows.
He was out of town at the time.
So you were with another man, and then you saw Mr. Davis during that time?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you did sleep with Mr. Davis during the window of conception?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Davis, do you remember having sexual intercourse without using protection with Ms. Kelso?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ha ha! This guy can't be serious with what he just said. He remembers when they kicked it in bed but cannot remember the time they did? Come on! At least we know one thing. They both agree on the fact that they were intimate while Ms. Kelso was in a relationship.
And you were with Mr. Hafner just 1 week after you were with Mr. Davis?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your baby was how many days late?
6, Your Honor.
6 days late. Okay. When the child came late, did you ever think to yourself, maybe it's Mr. Hafner's child, not Mr. Davis?
These two have to be hilarious. Ms. Kelso believes the baby belongs to Mr. Davis because the child looks and sounds like him. As you would expect, Mr. Davis is not riding the same boat. Mr. Davis says, there is no way on earth the baby looks or sounds like him. Now who's lying?
She's told me in person the child's not mine. She's told me over Facebook. I have pictures of her telling me on Facebook
I'd like to see those.
that she's not, that I'm not the father.
So this is a post from you, Amber Kelso. It reads, my son is not yours.
Yes, I told him that because I didn't want him coming back to my house while I was pregnant. He put me through way too much stress, so I just told him the child's not yours to get him away from me.
Oh, is the lady being serious? How do you tell a man he is not the father of the child and not expect him to believe you? She has got to be joking. That explains why Mr. Davis believes he is not the father of the child. I mean, you really can't blame him.
Your Honor, I know for a fact at least 10 people that I know personally that she's had intercourse with. I have no reason to be there for this child.
Well, Mr. Davis fails to explain about the times that I had sex with the people that he knows, because none of them were around the area of the conception date, not even months around.
So, Mr. Davis, even if she was sleeping with...
What? Did Mr. Davis just say she's slept with at least 10 people since he has known her? That has to be a lie. But then again, could he be saying the truth? I mean, they had a sexual relationship while she was in a relationship with another man.
Today, I have to ask you, do you think baby Connor is your child?
That's what I think.
You do?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, have you done anything for Connor thus far? Have you helped in raising him?
Yes, Your Honor. I have been feeding him, being there for him.
Mr. Davis is one hilarious man, but the look on Mr. Hafner's face says it all. He cares so much about the child. He's literally been the one taking care of the baby since its birth. Believe me, he would be heartbroken if he did not end up being the father.
I mean, just around Mr. Hafner's family, that's it.
Because
you know, leading them to believe, oh, this is his family, you know, this is his child, yet I'm the father. Yeah, you know, yet the child looks just like me.
Well, I mean, Ms. Kelso, that is an interesting point.
Oh,
on the one hand, you're saying he stresses you out and you don't want him to be around. On the other hand, you're accusing him of not helping.
I'm siding with the judge on this one. If you don't want him around the child, why then is she claiming he is the father of the child? It does not make any sense. One thing is for sure though, Mr. Davis does not want to be the father of the child.
To you. You don't have to be sorry about being emotional about a child. We understand how important they are.
I love them to death.
And this is a picture of Connor on the left, and this is a picture of Mr. Hafner's grandfather, which is your father,
Yes, Your Honor.
on the right. And you say you truly see a resemblance.
On a scale from 1 to 10, that's an 11, and you compare our two pictures, and that's maybe a 2.
Now that's a very valid question. Everyone in Mr. Hafner's family wants the baby to be his, and has even accepted that the baby looks like Mr. Hafner. Nobody gets why Ms. Kelso believes Mr. Davis is the father of her child.
Fine. His lips look like Richard. His hair looks like Jamal's. I just can't tell. They're so similar in different ways.
You are truly confused.
I am.
I can see it on your face.
I'm just absolutely confused, and I don't know.
You really are confused, and I can see it.
I made a mistake by cheating on Mr. Hafner with Mr. Davis.
I guess we are at a crossroads. The only way out of this mess is to reveal the DNA results. Hopefully that clears the air and clears doubts from everyone's mind. Here's what the judge reveals in the end.
In the case of Kelso versus Davis, as it pertains to 9-month-old Connor Kelso, as to whether Mr. Hafner or Mr. Davis is the biological father, it has been determined by this court.
In this episode, it was a battle between a husband and wife and a mistress. Mr. Quarles and his wife were in court to deny Ms. Forrester's child. Mr. Quarles claimed that it was a silly one-night stand and that there was no way he could be the father of her child. Well, the roller coaster began like this.
Mr. Quarles, both you and your wife have petitioned the court today for a DNA test for 4-year-old Sierra Forrester. You claim that due to a one-night stand, you are now in financial shambles caused by child support for a child you don't believe is yours.
Seems like Mr. Quarles' family has zero peace since he had his one-night stand incident with Ms. Forrester. He claims all his money has been going toward child support for Ms. Forrester's child, and he is just tired of taking care of a child that is not his.
Work to the other house, but how do I get put on child support and I ain't signed no birth certificate, I ain't doing,
Well, you were named the father by default because you didn't show up to court. The address they had of record, the notice went there. You say you had moved,
right,
but they sent it to probably your last known address.
Ha ha ha. Mr. Quarles has just been schooled on how child support works. I guess next time, when he decides to have a one-night, he is going to show up in court when they claim him as the father of the child.
Go to jail.
Yes, and next month I have a court date that they might just send me to jail for 6 months.
All for a child that you don't believe is your biological child.
Exactly.
Because you missed a court date. You say you initially said he was not the father.
Right.
Then you changed it.
Yes, ma'am.
How did that happen?
Because Miss Hernandez came up to me and asked me if he was the father.
Wow. Looks like there is a lot on the line for Mr. Quarles. He better make things right so he doesn't end up in jail. Ms. Forrester, on the other hand, has a lot of explaining to do. I'm so not buying her story of claiming not to want to cause any trouble in Mr. Quarles' marriage.
You're saying that it was more than one time.
Yes, ma'am.
And you asked the court to administer a lie detector test?
Yes, ma'am.
Jerome, do we have those results? So you volunteered for a lie detector test because you say you had sex with him more than once?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Quarles, before I read these, I don't know what the answers are and what the results are, but I just want to give you an opportunity.
Oops! Let the truth out, Mr. Quarles. Lie detectors definitely do not tell lies. Seems like Ms. Forrester has been truthful all along. So why on God's green earth has Mr. Quarles been lying in the courtroom?
We slept together on and off for about 3 months.
And how often during that 3 months time were you intimate?
About 5 to 8 times.
So you're pregnant. You tell Mr. Quarles it's his child?
Yes.
What was his response?
first.
No, I told Yuri first. He came over that night and I showed him 5 different pregnancy tests.
Let's just say getting the truth out of Mr. Quarles and Ms. Forrester is going to be one tedious job for Judge Lauren. These guys don't seem like they are ready to let the truth out. Believe me. Oh well, the truth always comes out in the end, doesn't it?
Forrester, were you sleeping with anybody else besides Mr. Quarles during the window of conception?
No, Your Honor.
He says 2 guys said they were sleeping with you too.
2 black guys.
He's the only black guy I've ever slept with my whole entire life. That's why
What's the difference if they black, white, yellow, green? What's the difference? So you're saying the baby is biracial?
Now that is just hilarious to listen to. But Ms. Forrester is right, though. It works both ways, so Mr. Quarles' wife can take a chill pill with the whole accusation. Even her husband isn't denying the fact that he slept with Ms. Forrester.
Still by yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he participate at all?
He's only seen her 3 times since she's been born.
And she's 4 now?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell Ms. Quarles, did you tell his wife you were taking the child to see him?
I do not believe Miss Quarles knew that he was seeing her.
Did you know he was seeing the baby?
I knew about one time.
At this this point, let's just say the DNA result is the only way out of this mess, and most certainly the only way to get the truth out of them both. Well, here are the results.
In the case of Quarles versus Forrester, when it comes to 4-year-old Sierra Forrester, it has been determined by...
Do you know that feeling when your best friend goes running to your boyfriend to tell them all about your different escapades with other men? Well, Ms. Stremke knows that feeling very well. It all began like this.
Mr. Jaramillo, you claim your doubt is valid because you were present when another man impregnated Ms. Stremke, and the family you thought you were building is not salvageable until you have DNA proof. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Stremke, why is your family falling apart?
Your Honor, I feel like my family is falling apart because my daughters are basically growing up how I had to. We didn't have both parents.
That's right, Ms. Stremke. Children are extremely wise, and you don't want your child to grow up in that sort of situation. Mr. Jaramillo says this is regrettable, but he really can't do anything about it since paternity issues get brought up in fights.
I feel that those are his kids.
When you got pregnant with the oldest daughter, Naviana, what was the issue surrounding her paternity?
I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up where I had slept with another man. And this is before me and Mr. Jaramillo had gotten together. But it was very, very shortly after that we got together. And it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Now, Mr. Jaramillo had never met this friend before, but he believed every word she said. Ms. Stremke, of course, knew the friend in question and argued that it was all a lie.
Which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you know, you'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke had been impregnated with wasn't mine, that she had been sleeping with numerous males.
How long had you been together at that point?
We had been together for 2.5, 3 weeks.
Another thing is that Ms. Stremke and Mr. Jaramillo had only been together for about a month before Ms. Stremke told him that she was pregnant. To make things worse, Naviana was born about 3 weeks early, which makes it seem like the child truly doesn't belong to Mr. Jaramillo.
About the time that the other males were present.
I was upfront with you and told you that there was one other person before we had gotten together.
You said one other person, and then came another fellow that your best friend told me about.
I had never slept with anybody but one person besides you, and that was before we had gotten together.
But Naviana is 4 years old. Did you ever attempt to have a paternity test back then?
What about the second daughter? What doubts does Mr. Jaramillo have about her? And exactly how did he get those doubts? The answer will probably surprise you.
It's like, okay, well, it wouldn't be the worst thing because we're getting along really well. The question of paternity is not being brought up anymore. And that's when we ended up deciding to spice up our sex life and everything, and we ended up having a female-female threesome with him, so he got to pick another woman, and it was what it was. We did it, and then it was maybe a couple weeks later it got brought up, it'd only be fair if we had a male, and you.
Mr. Jaramillo's friend didn't come over for pancakes. He came over for a different sort of cake. Mr. Jaramillo invited his friend to have intercourse with his wife, and none of the 3 people involved used any sort of protection.
It was a mutual suggestion between Amber and I. We had gone through it back and forth between Miss Stremke and I. It was a toss-up back and forth. One minute she'd want to do it, the next minute she didn't. And from being with Amber, I know if she's going to do something, it has to be on the spot.
All had sex. Did the friend use protection?
Neither one of us used protection, Your Honor.
Look, if you want to spice up your marriage, here's some good advice. Don't invite other people into it. If you want to add more excitement to your marriage, go see a movie, get on a jet, and go for a vacation. Anyway, let's find out who the child's birth father is.
Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good.
You look so relieved.
I am.
And I hope you all understand now that you have this clarity, that this clarity will present itself on many levels in your relationship.
Ms. Hilburn claimed to be caught in a love triangle, and the result of that ended with her giving birth to her 10-month-old daughter. The defendant, Mr. Barnes, claimed he caught her with another man on Valentine's Day and is determined to prove he is not the father of the child. This was how the case began.
For the past 3 years, which you say resulted in the birth of your 10-month-old daughter, Saray. But you're here to prove she is the defendant's baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your relationship ended, but soon after giving Ms. Hilburn another chance, you discovered she was still sleeping with the other man.
Mr. Barnes seems like a really good dad. Being there for everything just makes you want to have him as a dad. Now, how did it all go wrong with this sweet dad and Ms. Hilburn? Well, this was the next mind-blowing thing that came out of Mr. Barnes's mouth.
I couldn't be because she is still legally married, so I was not able to be put on her.
I wasn't expecting you to say that, so she's still legally married to someone else?
I would want more than anything to actually be her father. Because I was there, I've put the time, the commitment, the love. She's my daughter for all I know, so I want it to be that way.
Wow. Let's just say Ms. Hilburn has been one busy woman, jumping from one man to the next. Now I understand why she calls it a love triangle. Here's where things get even more complicated. Mr. Hilburn had no idea she was sleeping with another man.
Before Valentine's Day, which is the first time it happened, I was at work. She said she's going to her friends. Okay, fine, go ahead. I get home, I try texting her, try calling her, no response. So whatever, I go to sleep. The next day, Miss Hilburn and the other gentleman come back to the house. They're brought by the people that they stayed with. I was informed by the people who brought them that they had slept together that night.
That is not true. I told him.
Wait, what? They were all living together? At this point, one can only ask if the situation is going to get any messier than this. Seeing that it's one hell of a mess, Judge Lauren decides to ask Ms. Hilburn how they got themselves into such a messy situation. Well, this is what she had to say about that.
Are you sleeping with both of them while you live in the house with both of them, Ms. Hilburn?
Yes, I was.
I'm not trying to give anyone tips, but how did you pull that off?
He would go to work. As soon as he left, me and the other guy would have sex.
Did both guys know you were with the other one?
Not all the time, they didn't.
Damn, that has to hurt. I can't believe she just said that to Mr. Barnes's face. I wonder what kind of lies she was feeding him. Oh well, that was not the craziest thing about this situation. They are both still sleeping with each other. To make things even more insane, she's pregnant with the other guy she was sleeping with.
Mr. Barnes, are you still intimate with Ms. Hilburn?
Yes, ma'am, but we use condoms.
Ms. Hilburn, are you also still with the other guy?
Yes, and 5 months after this baby was born, I became pregnant again.
Oh, so you're pregnant now?
Yes, 7 months.
You're pregnant right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Eben Judge Lauren is out of words because what the hell is going on? She doesn't even know who the father of her unborn child could be. Wow. Now, when Ms. Hilburn found out she was pregnant, she claimed she told Mr. Barnes first, and this was how he reacted.
I told Mr. Barnes first. He said that he wanted to see the proof because there had been other times that I lied to him about being pregnant. So I took the paper to him and showed that I was pregnant, and he was happy because he wanted to be a father.
Okay, so even though she lied before about being pregnant,
Yeah, I saw the proof this
you saw
time,
the proof,
so I was happy.
and you were happy.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, you can see it on his face. Mr. Barnes's heart is broken beyond repair. What even hurts him the most is the fact that he loves the child so much. He goes on to tell the judge how devastating it would be if the results revealed that he was not the biological father of the child.
It wouldn't devastate me. I was there from day one. You know, the fact that she might not be mine, it hurts.
And I regret it. I really do.
Ms. Hilburn, there's a part of me that wants to believe you regret it, and yet you find yourself in the exact same situation again. I don't know how much more difficult a life lesson has to be.
Another blow to his heart. The poor man would wish he had never met Ms. Hilburn in his entire life. But things take another wild turn in the courtroom. Apparently, Mr. Barnes has a girlfriend with whom he claims to also be in love. Trust me, this is the craziest case ever.
Ms. Hilburn and Barnes, his girlfriend, the guy you're sleeping with, that's all the play.
Yes.
So, Mr. Barnes, you got a girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
Does she know about this relationship?
She suspects, but when you don't see your girlfriend for 7 months, you don't see her.
I think we've seen enough of this crazy couple. It just keeps going from bad to the absolute worst. Anyway, the results are in. It is time to see if Mr. Barnes is going to end up as the father of the child.
Barnes, you are not Saray's father. And as much as I believe and would bet my bottom dollar, Ms. Hilburn, that you have orchestrated a lot of this mess,